This show is part of the Trans Podcaster Visibility Initiative.
Now, as many of you know, video games are somewhat my forte, but not exclusively, and a lot of Geek Legion of Doom's questions are more towards video games. So I'm going to adapt them and bend the rules a little bit. Hey, you couldn't get my pronouns right, so I'm going to bend the rules a little here. So anyways, to kick things off, as you all may already know, we are a proud part of the Trans Podcaster Visibility Initiative. If you haven't looked them up, please view them online via Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I believe Marissa McCool has had a couple setups for social media, so it's worth looking into. And Marissa, consider yourself tagged in this as well. So I might add more than just 10 people to this list. And Tannen, yeah, I'll probably bring it up tomorrow with your tag as well. But anyways, let's go ahead and get this started. If you haven't checked out Geek Legion of Doom's content, please do. Now, for the people that I've tagged in this, and I've got my list right here, aside from Tannen and, of course, Marissa, I have also tagged Hibiki of Hibiki TMD, Travis, so if you get a chance and you see this video, keep in mind that you're tagged, please respond. I got Jim here from Drink a Beer and Play a Game. Josh, the storyteller, Josh Trugy. I know he hasn't been online a lot lately. I know some things have changed with his setup. He's been very self-conscious about some things in his life, but hopefully it's kind of encouraged him to get back into the whole podcasting scheme. Steve Shives. So Steve, if you're watching, and I'll even send you guys all a tag request and anything else of that nature. CYMRU. He's one of my friends from Britain, so hey, definitely check it out. Another of my friends, some of you may know, Larry Bundy Jr. Yes, you're tagged in this. I want to hear your responses. Alyssa White. So Alyssa, if you're watching, please feel free to respond to the tag and the questions. And once everything's broadcast and live on YouTube, I will obviously add music to this, and I will, of course, have the question in the comments area, or rather the description. So CYMRU, Alyssa White, Wood of Beat 'em Ups fame, so Woodhawker. We also have Christopher Lumzer of Longcoat Mafia podcast. So hey, this might encourage you to do some YouTube, because your podcast should be on YouTube. The Game Hunters. I told you guys I was going to tag you, so hey, consider yourselves tagged. And then finally we got Josh Berkey of Victims and Villains. So I expect to see you guys' response videos to this when you all have an opportunity to do so. Keep in mind, tomorrow we do have our Hangover podcast. Again, this is just a brief podcast because Geek Legion of Doom had to tag me in 10 quirky questions. So anyways, since we're getting into the topic of the 10 quirky questions, I'm going to go over the questions so you guys have an idea as to what I was asked. Number one, if you could name your child after any video game character, what or who would it be? Well, since I'm kind of bending the rules a little here, since basically I love movies more than I do video games, don't get me wrong, I game, hence why I have a PlayStation. But movies are more my spiel. If I had to, now granted, I already have 3 kids, so most of the naming schema usually was kind of left out of my hands on that, but if I had the opportunity, I definitely want to have one child named Ashley, after, of course, Ash Williams of course, Evil Dead video games and movies. So it's kind of a cheat answer, but I would love that. Even Logan would be a nice name for the comic book geeks out there, because I've always liked Wolverine. Even though I don't think that was his original name. Trying to pick my brain, I think it was something else. And then outside of that, I've always been fond of Jack. I know, love Jack Burton, Jack Russell, what have you. What was my favorite childhood food? I don't think I've changed much. I've always been a big nut for pizza. So pizza is kind of my staple next to sushi now, if we were going to talk about adulthood food. Number 3, what childhood book of yours still holds up to this day? I used to read a lot of classics growing up. I loved a lot of the H.G. Wells stuff, like War of the Worlds. I had read, what was it, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea? I can't remember. 10,000 or 20,000? Can't remember, but a lot of the Wells stuff I read. Out of anything that's like a true, straightforward kids book, that would be Clive Barker's Thief of Always. Kind of a shame that there's never been a full-fledged like screen adaptation of that, and if they ever did one, I would definitely want Clive involved. It would have to be as weird and as warped as he is, and the illustrations in the book are brilliant. Just to have a renowned horror author do a kid's book is definitely out there. But worth reading if you've got kids. Check it out. Simpsons, Rick and Morty, or Family Guy? Well, Simpsons and Family Guy, I'm gonna be honest with you, like earlier seasons, same way with Family Guy, were brilliant, and now it just seems like they're flogging a dead horse. I'm gonna lean more towards Rick and Morty because that concept hasn't worn itself thin yet. So it's kind of a no contest because Rick and Morty is the newest of those three options. I enjoy the show. I like its sci-fi appeal. I like that it's a show that has its own rules as to how the universe within it works, how they don't want to touch on time travel or anything of that nature, which is ironic because Rick and Morty are, of course, modeled after Doc Brown and Marty McFly. But I enjoy those shows immensely. What actor would best narrate a movie of your life? When it comes to basically people who would narrate a movie of my life, I know a lot of people always lean toward Morgan Freeman, but there's always something nice about a British accent, and I'm just going to be frank, I love some of my friends that are online, and I know they do some acting on occasion. I would probably lean toward Larry Bundy Jr. He's done some acting. As well as, a couple of my British friends, because I'm low rent, I don't need a big name. I think that would be kind of cool, just to have one of them, because British accents are awesome. Let's see here. Which horror-related character do you relate to the most? When it comes to horror-related characters, I actually relate more to, like, Ellen Ripley of Aliens fame. And finally Elvira, because you can't really go very far without talking about Elvira, because horror hosts are kind of my thing. I grew up watching Elvira, whereas most kids watch Sesame Street. Rainbows or unicorns is question 7. I'm a big fan of the rainbow imagery, even though my community is expressed with basically rainbows and things of that nature. But I'm just going to be frank, I'm not a fan of rainbows. Not a fan of unicorns unless it's Charlie the Unicorn from the heydays of YouTube. Come to Candy Mountain, Charlie. So I probably lean more to unicorns. What movie that you watched as a child would you like to see remade today? I'm not a fan of remakes. I don't know if I make it abundantly clear. Now there are some films that were remade that are better than the original. The Fly instantly comes to mind. Brilliant film. I know a lot of you, like I said, when you talk about Rick and Morty, you guys hear the phrase Cronenberg. Well, Cronenberg directed the remake of The Fly, and hence why you guys get that terminology of a Cronenberg, because it deals with the teleportation pods fucking up and creating the Fly-Man hybrid that's in that film. Granted, yes, the original film kind of had that, but the pacing was all wrong. For the original film, granted, it is an older film, but to me, the remake stands alone. Then you have The Thing, which was a more honest adaptation of the novel by John Carpenter there in the 80s. Yes, The Thing is a remake. Now, The Thing that came out in 2011 is actually a prequel to that thing. I know, it's very confusing. They should have called it The Thing from Another World to kind of honor the original movie from the 40s, 50s. But instead they just titled it after the movie that it's a prequel to. I don't know if Universal intended to remake John Carpenter's The Thing. Hopefully they never get around to that idea. But if you watch them back to back, if you watch the 2011 film that came out just recently. Well, not recently, but recently enough in my book. And then watch the 80s, The Thing by John Carpenter. They flow into each other perfectly. So when it comes to remakes, I'm not a fan. I don't think anything should be remade. I think they should go with original ideas. Hollywood is just too rife of trying to create franchises and sequels and remakes. And the sad part of it is a sequel is very seldom as good as the original, or even a remake is very seldom as good as the original, because they always put less money into it than what they did the original film. It's just the way it is, because they want a bigger... Anyways, that's my situation there. British accents or American accents? Well, being an American, I like hearing British accents. That's just me. So again, that's why I like a lot of British guys on YouTube, and a lot of guys I talk to online are either Australian or British, because I'm just terrible. So final question here is, more zombies or no zombies? The thing of it is if zombies are done right in film or video games or things of that nature, if there's a unique spin on them, they can be interesting. George Romero kind of recreated zombies, because prior to George Romero with Night of the Living Dead, you had zombies that were your voodoo variety, where they weren't exactly reanimated corpses with flesh dropping off the bone. They were people that were either brainwashed or through the use of chemicals and other rituals had their mind wiped and were used as slaves. But the thing with zombies is that it's very different than the modern concept of zombies. And a lot of times people forget that the modern concept came from the whole voodoo concept. It's kind of the natural progression. Somebody did something new with it. As to how the word zombie got attached to that, after George Romero's Night of the Living Dead, I have no idea, because the word, as you may know, is not even mentioned in the original film. I don't think it comes up until like the third or fourth movie in that series. Yes, there's a whole series. I know a lot of you guys are youngins on YouTube. You don't realize that it's a series of films. So if you get a chance, look them up. But the reality of it is what you guys call zombie isn't where the connotation really comes from. Granted, there are different concepts all over the world about Walking Dead and being a Walking Dead, but it's all different concepts. The original concept of the voodoo zombie was more about losing your mind and your identity. The modern concept, a completely different creature. But outside of that, those are the questions. So guys, you know you are tagged. Of course, Chris, I see that you're on here. You're tagged. Tannen, basically, when you get a chance, is tagged as well. Same way with everybody else that I listed previously. I'll make sure you all get separate Twitter, Facebooks, or whatever to say, hey, I tagged you in this video. Here are the questions. The questions again, until, of course, you want your response videos now or later, is as follows. 1, if you could name your child after any video game or movie character. Again, I'm bending the rules, sorry, Geek Legion of Doom, but I'm bending the rules here. But if you could name your child after any video game or movie character, who would it be? Number 2, favorite childhood food. Number 3, what childhood book of yours still holds up to this day? Number 4, Simpsons, Rick and Morty, or Family Guy. Number 5, what actor would best narrate a movie of your life? Number 6, which horror-related character do you relate to the most? 7, rainbows or unicorns. 8, which movie that you watched as a child would you like to be seen remade today? 9, British accents or American accents. And 10, more zombies or no zombies. Alright, so you guys have been tagged. Feel free to respond, and afterwards, please know that tomorrow at 3 p.m. we do have a live podcast with Tannen Paul. We're going to be talking horror in sci-fi, basically horror sci-fi hybrids such as like Alien, Event Horizon, even Frankenstein. So we're going to go into kind of details, but you know me, we go off on a tangent. Anyways, as always, I'm coolly yours, wishing you unpleasant screams. Take care, creep it real.